Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dream Star Grand Prix Daily Review Series here on the YouTube channel. We have made it now to day 7 of the Dream Star Grand Prix, and we are just a few days away now from the big time Cork and Hall show this upcoming weekend. That's one of the big time shows really since the opening day that I know many people, myself included, have been waiting for. So I'm very excited for that. But before we get there, we will go through this review here from the Friday show that just dropped on late Sunday night, early Monday morning, depending where you are. We are here to review Tommy Hayashishita versus Maria. We are also going to review Kouki Amarei versus Victoria Yuzuki, and we'll do a little bit bonus for the main event from that show, which was GoChika's homecoming match against Mayu Iwatani. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me once again. If you've been joining me along the ride here on the YouTube channel, I greatly appreciate it. We've been continuously putting out content over the past month. Of course, if you're interested, go check it out. Now we have the finals of the Dream Star Grand Prix 2025 review up on the YouTube channel to close out what was the 5-star Grand Prix 2025 daily review series. So hopefully you enjoyed all that. Hopefully you check all that out. If you're just jumping in now with the 5-star over and interested in the Dream Star Grand Prix, I have recordings throughout the tournament up on the YouTube channel as well. You can go back to the last one, which was a day 5 and day 6 review. But of course, today we are on day 7. Like I said, we only have 2 tournament matches to review today, but we also will do a bonus for the homecoming match of GoChika. That felt like a fun one to kind of toss into this discussion because, I had fun with it. Hopefully you did too. But without wasting too much of your time, I got places to be, things to do. Let's get to our review here today. Like I said, we are on day 7 of the tournament. Right around the corner is, in fact, the big time Cork and Hall show, one of the biggest shows of any tournament, as I've talked about, right? That was a complete changing of maybe trajectory is the right word in terms of the 5-star. When they got to their Cork and Hall show, it just leveled up in a massive way. So I'm quite excited for this one. Then we'll have a Shinjuku Face show. Then there'll be 2 more shows before the finals on September 14th at Cork and Hall once again. So, with that being said, let's get to the tournament. First up was Kouki Amarei versus Victoria Yuzuki. And I think these two have had kind of the complete opposite of tournaments in terms of just maybe overall performance, but also, success comes into this as well. And I think that's an important aspect of this. For me, watching this tournament, a lot of it was okay, we want to see growth from certain wrestlers. We also just want to see quality from different wrestlers. And I don't think Kouki had the hottest start to a tournament that, ultimately was the turnaround for her at this time last year prior to her injury, right? That performance had turned things around, and so far through this tournament, it had been a lot of okay performances at best, but Victoria Yuzuki, on the flip side of that, has only had really great performances. She has had some of my favorite matches from the very start of the tournament, whether it be the one against Utami Hayashishita, her match with Sariyama Yoko was quite quality. Who else has she faced? I can't remember, but those are kind of the top 2. So seeing Kouki and Yuzuki share the ring here, I was excited to see how this would turn out, and I thought it turned out to be Kouki Amare's best match in the tournament thus far. Now, I don't think many people walk away from this match or the other match saying necessarily, wow, what a blow away night of tournament matches. But in terms of this match specifically, it's a step in the right direction for Kouki Amarei. So the match started off hot. Um, you saw Yuzuki not even take her ring jacket off, and she brought the attack, right? She had, at this point, been undefeated, 3-0. She wanted to keep bringing it right off the rip takes out Kouki immediately. I think that was an interesting aspect of the match itself. She hit her bottom rope drop kick before then, moving on to the next match. A lot of confidence in Yuzuki. I think that's kind of the interesting aspect of following her in her tournament run, is watching her overall confidence rise and maybe fall a little after this big time loss. I think that'll be very interesting. But Kouki got back on the offense, hitting a cutter. She then put um, Izuki into a submission, wrapping up her leg and kind of just, making her struggle there. They then started to trade big boots and forearms back and forth, which was a good quality uh, trade off between the two. That was followed by a judo throw by Victoria Yuzuki to get back on the offense. But Kouki comes back, and I think that's the interesting maybe storyline of this tournament for Kouki is has felt like the underdog a lot in early matches, but she keeps coming back and showing the heart. I think that's what will carry her a long way. If she can show the heart, maybe the rest will catch up with that. She had a power slam followed by a press for a 2 count. She then hit a dominator on Victoria Yuzuki and went for the butterfly from the top, but missed and kind of crashing down. I thought this kind of brought us to a good point in the match. Victoria Yuzuki locked on a crossface, creating that submission struggle, which is always a good aspect. And we went back to that twice. Yuzuki would then get to the top rope, hitting missile dropkick, followed by a back suplex for a nice little near fall. She then hit a super kick, which would lead to some good trading back and forth, and then would lock in the Rings of Saturn on Kouki for a good struggle that showed Kouki, again, showed that heart, showed that drive to get to the bottom rope and to escape from that. So that was a good spot there. Yuzuki would go for the rolling arrow, but Kouki was able to reverse it for a good little near fall. She then followed that up with a full Nelson slam, followed by the butterfly to get the victory and earn her third and fourth point, while being the first blemish on the record of Victoria Yuzuki, which I think is obviously very important for Yuzuki's overall run. This could be one that comes back to bite her because she had it. She had the match, and I think that was a good story point. But like I said, this was a pretty solid match. Easily, I thought Koki's best of the tournament, and again, you just want to see the strides. I think what a lot of people are waiting for within the Dream Star Grand Prix is kind of that next step overall from the tournament. Yet, you want to see those must see matches, and I think the Korakuen's going to bring that. But a lot of these smaller shows where there's one or two matches, honestly, the main event of whatever that night is, where it be the tag or on this show, the GoChika homecoming show, I think those matches are still going to be the matches you want to see mostly from these shows. But as someone who is reviewing this, I thought this was another pretty solid night. Following the last one, day 7. So I can't complain too much because I liked this match, and then I liked our next match, which was, of course, Utami Hayashishita going one-on-one with Maria. Of course, this was supposed to be Senka Akatsuki for those who don't know, but Maria had to fill in when Senka was dealing with pneumonia. So obviously, Senka has yet to return to the ring, but we have seen her on some marvelous shows. So I'm wishing her the best. Looking forward to her comeback uh, sooner than later. So there's that. Um, let's talk about Utami versus Maria. I think one of the main takeaways from this tournament thus far has been just the overall quality of Utami in this tournament. I think as the world champion, as kind of the person leading in that respect, she's putting together some really nice performances. And it doesn't come as a shock necessarily, but I think she has found a stride that kind of dates back to that the Takumi match, and she's kind of built from there. Um, Now she's having a very solid tournament against pretty much every opponent, which is a great sign. I was fascinated to see what her and Maria looked like. Obviously, you know, a slight continuation of the Marigold marvelous feud, but also just a unique challenge for Utami. It felt like one that she kind of welcomed, and Maria has turned it up the past few shows as well, right? The Risetta one was a nice match, and I think this was a nice match as well. They had a nice little face off, hitting the poses on the laying down in the ring. I thought that was a fun little spot, but from there, Maria really started to bring it. She got the octopus hold on Utami in the early going. They traded some forearms back and forth before Maria dodged one of the forearm attempts and hit a nice drop kick on Utami to take her down. She then hit this great armbar through to create a bit of a struggle moment for Utami Hayashishita, who would eventually get to the bottom rope. From there, she would get back to the armbar, which would allow Utami to power out, hit a power bomb, and follow that with a lariat for a nice little 2 count. She then hit the Olympic slam, as she often does, on Maria, and then follow that up with a middle rope drop kick, taking out Maria in a big time way. Maria would come back with a half Nelson suplex, dropping Utami on the back of her neck, followed by a nice rocket kick for a good near fall. She then once again, as they ran at each other, turn a lariat into another armbar, which would create a good struggle and force Utami to get to that bottom rope. Again, Maria's been kind of finding her game as we go. I don't think Maria's ever going to have the out of this world match. Okay. I think she's probably a better tag wrestler at this stage than maybe singles, but I do think she can have these good matches. I thought this, like I said, was a good match. I like their chemistry. I think they could maybe have a great match somewhere down the line if we ever got there. Um, Utami would hit Maria with a German suplex, which Maria would get to her feet, but then get drilled by a lariat. That would see Utami then go for the deadlift suplex, a move that she has won multiple matches with throughout not only her career, but throughout this tournament. But Maria would shockingly kick out at 1. That'd be followed by an attempt at the torture rack bomb by Utami, which was reversed into a nice near fall. Utami would hit a rolling lariat, followed by another lariat, and then hit the torture rack bomb to get the win. So with that, Utami goes to 8 points, the most points in the entire tournament, leading the entire tournament. I believe Utami has 2 matches left, one against Mayu Iwatani at the upcoming Korakuen Hall show, and then her final match will be against Kouki and Amarei, also at the finals, which is also at Korakuen Hall. So Utami had a strong opening month, winning 4 out of 5 matches. Of course, her one loss coming to Victoria Yuzuki on the opening night, but now she'll face Mayu on Saturday, which should be obviously a real chance to be the match of the tournament. It's been a long time since I've seen those two compete. But yeah, I thought this match was overall solid. I thought it was another, kind of a building performance for Maria, who's finding her confidence, I think, as a singles competitor in this new gimmick that she's in. But a solid match, both solid matches. Quite enjoyed them. Before we get to just the review of Mayu and GoChika, which was a match I really enjoyed, let's quickly look at the stats for this tournament. Brought to us by Peps. So shout out to Peps. So your Dream League standings are as follows. You have Utami Hayashishita at the top with 8 points, Victoria Yuzuki with 6, Kouki Amarei, Maria, Mayu Iwatani, Sari Amioka all tied with 4, Chiaki with 2, and Ryaseta was 0. In the Star League, you have Mai Sakurai, Misa Matsui, and Nagisa Nozaki all at 6 points apiece. Chen Yoda's at 4 points, Mirai's at 3 points, Chika Goto's at 2 points, Mikuano's at 1, and Kazuna Tanaka at 0. Mikuano will get back into the tournament since being off since the first night on the Korakuen Hall show, and I think that'll be a nice kickoff to really this tournament going up to the next gear. I think Miguano's involvement will be a crucial part of that. But those are all your stats you need for this show. Let's head back now to the slides, and we'll talk about GoChika versus Mayu Iwatani. I like to give this nice bonus because I thought this match was an interesting and exciting one heading in. Obviously, GoChika has become, a big time favorite amongst Marigold fans, both in Japan and worldwide. I think she has been one that has earned the respect of many, and that came all down to facing the icon in the very first singles match between the two. I think for me, my hope for this match, and by the way, the crowd was fantastic for this match. They were all in on GoChika, pure love for GoChika. My hope for this match was being a step, not necessarily being a one and done, but being a step in building GoChika up. And I thought that's what this accomplished. I think what you saw between Mayu and GoChika was an exciting dynamic that you can move forward with. An exciting dynamic that can serve as a major moment down the line for someone like GoChika, because GoChika, despite, being one of the stronger wrestlers on the roster, obviously being, I think she's the tallest wrestler on the roster, but it's either her or Kouki. She still is able to capture this incredible ability to be a great underdog. And against someone like Mayu Iwatani, that is the perfect setup for a match. Listen, Gochika is never going to fundamentally be the most perfect wrestler in ring, but she doesn't need to be. What she does, and we talked about this earlier, talking about the Kouki Victoria Yuzuki match, what she does is she has heart, and that heart does so much more for her than any move could ever do, that any added athleticism or something of the sorts could ever do, because that heart pushes her forward, that heart connects with the audience, and that makes her matches all the more exciting. Mayu was very willing to play the bad guy per se in this match, to play the antagonist to who GoChika was in her hometown. And I think that's what made this match so much fun. In the early going, Mayu is just kicking the hell out of GoChika, and GoChika's like, I can take this, I can show you my spirit through this. So go ahead, keep bringing it. I got this. And she kept doing so. And I thought that was such an exciting aspect, really, of the match as a whole. I really enjoyed that because, again, it was about showing the heart, showing the passion that she has for pro wrestling. This match was a celebration not only for her in her hometown, but really her past year of improvement. And she continuously fought back to the point where, and the biggest point in the match, the moment that they built to in this match was the 20 spin swing by GoChika. And that was an incredible moment. The crowd was eating it up. You could watch Mikuano at the side counting on her hands in kind of amazement as they reached 20. And then from there, you kind of have the moments of both of them kind of being out of it, right? You just went through 20 swings. When Mayu gets back on the offensive, she's like slow to get up and trying to figure herself out. I thought that was just a great little part of this match. And ultimately, what you watched here was a fun wrestling match. Something that I've dealt with over the past couple of weeks, just because of covering all these tournaments, is tournament fatigue. And I think we all go through it. And that kind of comes with the idea of singles match fatigue. Listen, I thought the 5-star Grand Prix was incredible, right? Like, if you listen to my finals review, you know my love for that final and everything that came up. But tournament fatigue still adds up. It's a lot of matches, a lot of singles matches, and the ability to maybe have fun or bring creativity can be a little bit delayed because every match matters, right? And this match matters, yes, for GoChika in her hometown, but they're able to have fun with it. And I thought that's why this match was so refreshing for me watching, despite having tournament fatigue, is because this was different from everything else. This was different from any tournament match because it was just a match between these two of telling a simple story of GoChika in her hometown being an underdog. I loved that. I loved that. Just a great final push from GoChika, trying to show that survival, trying to show she still got it. And Mayu pretty much says, all right, that's enough. And just hits her with swift kick after swift kick in the head. Goes for kick out, but GoChika on one more kick out shows that she has a little life left, and ultimately Mayu hits the moonsault and gets the win. I really enjoyed this match. If this was a tournament match, it would have made my matches worth the watch list. Because I think it is worth the watch. I think seeing a hometown match for someone like a GoChika in her first match against someone like Mayu Iwatani is so important for someone's career. And I think this is going to be an important part of GoChika's continued rise to whatever level she may reach down the line. Overall, though, really, really fun match. Like I said, I'd check it. I'd definitely check it out. But overall, that is it here from day 7 of the Dream Star Grand Prix review series. We'll be back on Saturday with a big time review for the Cork and Hall show. That's one I'm very much looking forward to. That show, for those wondering, here's your schedule for that show. It should be a great one. We'll have Utami Hayashishita versus Mayu Iwatani in the main event. You'll also have Victoria Yuzuki versus Maria, Suri Yamioka versus Kouki Amarei, Rhea Seto versus Chiaki. And then in the Star League, you have Kazuna Tanaka versus Misa Matsui, Nagisa Nozaki versus GoChika, Miku Ano versus Chan Yoda, and Mai Sakurai versus Mirai. So plenty of exciting matchups there. And I think we'll have a match on that show that very well could be the match of the tournament when it's all over. But thank you to everyone who listened. Thank you to everyone who continues to give you or give me your time. It means the world to me. The support I received regarding the 5-star tournament truly, truly meant a lot to me. So thank you for that. I've read all the comments. I'll go in and react to each of them personally. But thank you so much. You know, life is busy and so on, but I love bringing this content each and every week. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Until next time, everyone, we'll be back on Friday with a 5-star Joshi show. Then we'll be back on Saturday with a review of the Dream Star. And then we'll get back into our normal video coverage, you know, our fun features and stuff once the Dream Star is over. I can promise you that. I have a lot of plans for that. Back to the, you know, the weekly video along with the podcast. So definitely lock in for that. Thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your week. See ya.